ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम गुंगुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम गं गणपतये नमः। ओम ऐं सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनाम् उपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोदिभिः सीदसादनम्। ओम श्री महागणपतये नमः। ओम नमः शिवाय गुरवे सच्चिदानन्दमूर्तये निष्प्रपञ्चाय शान्ताय निरालम्बाय तेजसे। ओम यस्यात्मभूतस्य गुरुप्रसादात् अहं विमुक्तोऽस्मि संसारबन्धात् सर्वोपदेष्टुः शिवानन्दमूर्तेः मृदु अग्रियुग्मं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यं दयासिन्धुं दीनबन्धुं शास्त्रार्थबोधनपटुं मस्करीन्द्रवरं नौमि श्रीचिदानन्दसद्गुरुम्। ॐ प्राणिनां दुःखहर्तारौ ज्ञानदो भुवनमुक्तये शिवानन्दचिदानन्दौ आश्रये गुरुसत्तमौ। ॐ शान्तात्मानं प्रणतसुलभं सिद्धविद्याप्रभावं भास्वद्रूपं सुगुणनिलयं ध्वस्तकर्मादिवर्गं प्रज्ञावृद्धं निजसमदृशं तारतं त्यागिपद्यं साक्षादीशं मम गुरुवरं शिवानन्दं नतोऽस्मि शिवानन्दं नतोऽस्मि। ॐ अखण्डानन्दसम्बोधो वन्दनात् यस्य जायते गोविन्दं तमहं वन्दे चिदानन्दतनुं गुरुम्। ॐ My prostrations at the feet of Gurudev Sri Swami Shivanti Maharaj, Swami Krishnanji Maharaj, Swami Chidanji Maharaj. The Guru Purnima was observed directly offering puja at the feet of Gurudev. Later on, from 1964 onwards, Guru Purnima was started, followed by the 7 days of sadhana week, and concluding with the Gurudev's Aradhana. So some of you may be attending, might have attended earlier, and some of you are attending for the first time. Some of you may be attending second, third, fourth, like that. Some of the faces are familiar to me. So every time we are attending the sadhana week, and I have certain special experiences in interacting with the sadhaks, the seekers. As General Secretary of the Divine Life Society, I enter into correspondence with many of the seekers. Not only we get letters about the official matters, but also on spiritual matters, many people write to us. And many of those questions, the seekers' questions, are answered by me, Gopiji, and some others. We handle those issues actually. So those who come for sadhana week, they usually say that, oh Swamiji, we are really benefited, the wonderful experience. Many people say like that. Those who are not attending the sadhana weeks, sometimes they taken off and then come here to this ashram for certain sadhana, to be free, to relax, to do little japa, to do puja, havan. So something they have in mind, some spiritual activities, they come and do it here, and they go back with satisfaction. And they have the feeling that to come again and again. That is one aspect of it. There is another aspect. There are certain seekers who are looking for something, and then sometimes they say, Swamiji, we are practicing doing all these sadhana, getting up early in the morning, this, that, doing yogasanas and chanting mantras and doing meditation. And not much progress, I feel. We are stuck up somewhere. What should be done? This question many times they asked. One person came and told me, he does a lot of reading and reflection. So, one person with his wife, both came, and they do a lot of studies actually. They study the books and then reflect over that, meditate on that, and then they spend quite a good time in sadhana early morning. And then he told me, Swamiji, we are not able to achieve something. We are not able to see God, he said. I am not able to find God. Then I said, don't worry, God will find you. And then he went back. I don't remember this. The next time when he came, he told me, Swamiji, last time you told like this, he said. Then I don't remember because I just, whatever that is prompted, I speak. So, have you any time taken stock of what is going on in us? We are seeking here, you are coming every time to this sadhana week, or you are doing some form of practice, you are doing some spiritual exercise. You are practicing something. And what is happening to us? What is that we are gaining? Are we gaining something? Or just some people are not very much interested in gaining something. They are very happy because they have some relaxation. They are very happy. There's some amount of complacency may be there. Some seekers may not have that complacency. They want to achieve something. Whether it is right or wrong, that question I don't go. Whether it is technically correct or wrong, those things are not to be examined. So at some point of time, those who consider themselves to be seekers and seeking, I want to realize God, I want self-realization, something like that, especially people like us who are taken sannyas and who are committed for something. Not ordinary people, you are happy with family background and then some fringe benefit this. Leading a spiritual life makes your total family life very, very happy. That is perfectly okay. Those who are little more serious about it, and have you any time examined what is happening? Is it okay? So at some point of time, thought comes in our mind, whether we are progressing, whether we are somewhat stagnant at some place. Such thought comes. It is quite natural with all people, and especially with serious sadhaks. The ashram also, there are some people who are worried about what progress I am making. And sometimes they get immediate vairagya. And then, all right, Swamiji, I am not progressing very much. I want to go to some remote areas and go for seclusion, go for this, that, and sometimes they go away also. And sometimes after some time they may come back also. It's okay. So, what happens? At some point of time, you find that you are stuck up at some point. If you really examine yourself, you are practicing something, you have been hearing the lectures, you have been studying yourself, you are going to temples. If this is for worldly benefit, it is perfectly okay. They are happy with that worldly things. If you have some other higher goal, if you have a goal that I want to realize God, I want to get something beyond this mundane, if such a thought, those who are entertaining such a thought, if they at some point of time, what is happening to me, or am I progressing, that thought comes. Whether my sadhana is correct or not, what I am doing, So this question we pose time and again. So that thought came in my mind. That's why I'm sharing this with you. So are we progressing? Am I progressing in my spiritual pursuit? That question usually comes to serious seekers. So Bhagavan also says in the Bhagavad Gita, those who are practicing anything, spiritual practice, or those who are taking up spiritual practices, doing something or other, they are all wonderful people. Bhagavan says, Chaturveda bhajante mam yejana sukridino arjuna arto jignasur artharti jnani cha bharatarshava. Bhagavan says there are 4 types of people who are seeking me. Chaturveda bhajante mam janaha sukridinaha. Bhagavan says sukridinaha. They are all wonderful people, punya karmanaha. The Acharya's definition is those who have done meritorious act in their previous birth. They only get interest in spiritual practices. They say, Manishyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatadi siddhayen. So, among thousands, one get really interest in spiritual practices. So it is a blessing. It's a blessing from above that we have some interest to take up spiritual path, to walk on the spiritual path. Then Bhagavan says they are all sukridinaha. They are all wonderful people, some blessed people. Otherwise they will not have this aspiration to seek God. And having sought that they get a teacher, some atmosphere, Gurudev, the ashram, and they do some practices. All these things are possible because of some blessing, punya karma. So Bhagavan says, arto jignasur artharti. So for different reasons, maybe somebody is undergoing some pain, somebody is undergoing a surgery, they say, Swamiji, kindly offer prayers for us. You also do some prayer, we say. So they are offering prayers. So they have got some pain, to get rid of that they do. So that is, they are also, Bhagavan calls them as sukridinaha. So they get that benefit. Artharti, those who want some other material benefits, they may get it. So that's also fine. Even those people, Bhagavan says they are wonderful people, very good people, blessed people. Then jignasu, jnani cha bharatarshava. So jignasu. So most of us come under the category of jignasu. Who am I? What for I have come here? I should get something higher. So what is that? That inquiry is there. Today morning also, that Mandaleshwar said Jignasa Nivritti. Jignasa Nivritti. Then ultimately the Jignasa is there. Who am I? That inquiry is there. So Nivritti, that inquiry, that we find a solution, we find an answer to that inquiry. Jignasa Nivritti. So they are seeking something, you want God realization. So are we moving towards God? So that question is there. It was there in the beginning also. Many times we walk in the path, even in the olden days, in the Puranas, among the seekers, many of them have not achieved. They were stuck up at some point of time. We see all these things in the stories. You know that there's a famous saint, very famous saint. You know, his name is, this country is called by his name, Bharata, Jada Bharata. This Jada Bharata in his previous birth was a deer. Before that he was a king. His father was Rishabha. Bhagavan himself has taken avatar as Rishabha. And his eldest son is Bharata. So Bhagavad Katha comes. So then he handed over not only the kingdom, also he passed on that spiritual knowledge to that son, Bharata. And he ruled the country and then took to the life of a mendicant. And he was meditating for quite some time, and according to the Bhagavata, he was meditating on the 4th pada of Gayatri. In the ordinary Gayatri mantra, you know, Bhurbhuvassuvaha Tatsavidirvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodya. This is 3 padas. The 4th pada, it comes in the Brihadaranya Upanishad. Paro Rajas Savadom. So he was meditating on the 4th, Turiya. Turiya means this, the ultimate. He was the 4th. He was meditating on that. But somehow he was stuck up there and he got attached to a deer and he has to take a birth of a deer and then again as an Avadhuta. So why I say this means, we all keep on practicing something. And that practice, if you are really seeking God, and then why we are not able to find out whether it will be possible to achieve in this birth. Here and now, they say, here and now you can achieve it. And then Prahlada says in the Bhagavad that it is very easy. Nakhi achyutam prernayato bhakvayaso asuradbhagaha atmatvad sarvabhutanam siddhatvadika sarvada siddhatvadika sarvatha. Both ways it is correct. Nakhi achyutam prernayato bhakvayaso. To make Bhagavan happy, there is absolutely no trouble. It is such an easy thing to make Bhagavan happy. Why? Because Atmatvat Sarvabhutanam, he is your Antaratma. That Bhagavan is very close to you, most close to you than your own skin. Then why we are not able to see him? Why we are not able to behold him? So, the Shastra says both ways actually. So, Siddhatvadika Sarvata, it is already Siddha Vastu. It is not something to be achieved, Shastra says. And in another place they say, Churasya dhara nishita dhuratyaya durgam padam kapayo vadanti. It is like walking on the racer's edge. The spiritual path is not that easy, it is like walking on the racer's edge. So the Shastra says, contradict, it's a paradoxical statement. One says it is such an easy thing, and in another statement it says it is such a difficult thing. Shankaracharya also, he speaks about the Vedanta, the Advaita Siddhanta, and there he says that you have to do Shravana. Shravana means what? You have to not hearing something. Shravana means Atma, Anatma. What is Atma? What is Anatma? What is God? What is other thing? That you have to do Shravana. That is Shastra you have to study, you have to hear. Then Shravana, Manana, and you have to contemplate on that. And then meditate on that. All these statements are made. People also do Swadhyaya. Swadhyayat Ishtadevata Samprayogaha. Swadhyaya, if you do Swadhyaya, if you continuously study the Shastra, then you come in contact with that Devata. It is said like that. Acharya himself says in the Viveka Chudamani, Avijñāte pare tattve Shastrādhitistu nishpala. Vijñāte pare tattve Shastrādhitistu nishpala. If you don't study the scriptures, if you do not know what is Shastra, you can't understand the Paratattva. If the Paratattva is not known, what is the use of studying the Shastra? If you know that Bhagavan, then there is no need of studying the Shastra. If you do not know Bhagavan, what is the use of reading this? So in both cases, the Shastra Abhyasa is useless. If you know Bhagavan, there is no use of this Shastra Abhyasa. If you can't realize, then what is the use of doing this? It is only a burden. You keep on studying the Shastra, you will not be able to know him, it is a burden. If you know him, what is the use of this? Then also it is a burden. In both cases. So, why it is said like that? Because this is something very subtle actually. It is not something which can be comprehended by the mind, intellect, etc. This is something which is transcendent. So what we speak of the spiritual practice is something transcendent. So that exactly is the problem. We are practicing something. Whether this practice will lead to that goal. If you get up at 4 o'clock daily, I don't say don't get up like that. By that will be achieved. By that alone we will not achieve. It is required. You do Shastra Abhyasa. So many people study Shastras, nothing happens. You sit for meditation, those who go in seclusion, whether they have achieved, they may not achieve. By remaining here also you will not achieve. By not doing also you don't achieve. By doing something also you will not achieve. So something is lacking there. So what is that lacking? What exactly is the problem in our sadhana? We do all the sadhana, it's all wonderful. Shastra prescribed, Shankaracharya has prescribed, Gurudev has prescribed, every book has prescribed. We do it also. Why there is that feeling that I am not achieving? Why everybody is not achieving? Very select few only achieve. So in the Gita there is one shloka, Uddhared Atmanatmanam, Atmanam avasadayet. Uddhared Atmanatmanam. You lift yourself. The Atma should be lifted by the Atma. That means one has to lift himself. No Shastra, no Guru, no Bhagavan will come to lift you. You have to lift yourself. Uddharer Atmanatmanam. Atmanam avasa. Don't, you lift yourself, don't depress yourself. Don't push you down. Lift yourself, they say. And you have to lift yourself. Suppose if we fall down, nobody is there. We have to get up. Likewise, we have to get up. So in that shloka, 6 times the Atma Shabda comes. Uddharet Atmanatmanam Atmanam avasadiyat Atmaniva Bandhuratmanah Atmaiva Ruvaratmanah. Atma is your own enemy, Atma is your friend. Atma is the friend of the Atma, Atma is the enemy of the Atma. Lift the Atma with the Atma. So many times the word Atma is used. Normally they say the higher mind has to lift the lower mind. The lower mind is pulling you down. With the higher mind you lift up. Do we have two such mind? Whether there are two minds are there? Higher mind and lower mind. If there are two minds, higher mind and lower mind, why I am not operating at the higher mind? Why I am not able to operate why I am operating at the lower level? Why I am not able to operate it at the higher level? All these questions are there. These questions, it is a contemplation of this. It is a contemplation. These questions have to come in your mind. Bhagavan says, Uttared Atmanatmanam, how to lift myself. In the Sanskrit, the Atma Shabda has got meaning at different levels. Atma also means body. Atma means body. Atma means indriyas. Atma means mind. Atma means intellect. Atma means your real soul, Jivatma, the Paramatma, whatever it is. So the Atma Shabda, the sound, the terminology Atma is used in Sanskrit to mean the body, the sense organs, the mind, the intellect, and also the real Atma. And what they mean is this spiritual practices should come from within, whereas the spiritual practice takes place from outside actually. In most of our cases, we are doing some practice not because the inner voice prompts you to do it. Something you have understood externally. It is maybe an emotional influence or maybe an intellectual concept or maybe a bodily requirement. Your spiritual practices are motivated from which Atma? I want everybody to consider this one particular shloka, Uddared Atmanatmanam. You see the meaning in Hindi, in English, in any language you like. There is only one sound Atma. With the Atma you lift the Atma. One has to lift oneself. Which one has to lift which oneself? When we are examining the text, when we are taking Gita as an authority, what exactly Bhagavan means by this terminology, one has to lift oneself. What he means by that. So whether he means the physical Atma or the mental Atma or the intellectual Atma. So we are doing certain practices now. We are going to the temple. We are doing some meditation. What makes you to meditate? Which Atma told you to meditate? Whether your mind tells you to meditate, whether your intellect tells you to meditate, or your real inner self tells you to meditate. Have you any time looked into that? So our practices, spiritual practices, are at different levels. Our spiritual practices, now for example, as small children, I have been noticing all these things. Small children, the parents will take them to the temples. Especially in the southern India, there are certain restrictions also. You cannot go anywhere. In Kerala, you have to remove the upper cloth and then only wear a dhoti and then go a little, and then there should be a mark and all these things. And then they go to the temple, they cannot make noise. So the children will go, the mother will say, hey. Then he will do like this. This boy will do like this. So he is told, hey, you do like this. He will do like this. So something physically he is worshipping Bhagavan. He is standing before there. He is worshipping. Although he is worshipping, that takes place at the physical level. Supposing if you have a problem, if you have some disturbance in the mind, and you want to get rid of that disturbance, Bhagavan, kindly help me, kindly protect me, you please bless me. We make Swamiji, kindly bless us. People will shed tears. So from where that request comes? What prompts them? What motivates them to do that? It is their emotions. Am I right? Think about it. And some are intellectuals. And they study, oh, the Bhagavan is like this. Then they study the Upanishads. Yukhacheda Vedit Ata Satyamasti. Oh, here you have to realize. Otherwise, Mahati Vinashti. So I will do for that. So intellectuals. So the spiritual practices, you take to that, prompted at different levels. So it comes from different levels. Suppose if you have an aroma is here, some substance which gives good smell. If you keep it here, from here it goes out. So it goes through all the doors and windows. Somebody enters here, oh, some good smell is coming. They say, oh, something is here. It can also come from outside. If it comes from outside, this hall will not have that aroma. May have little but not much. So if the prompting is from the inner self, if the seeking is from inside, then immediate effects will be there. But it is not that easy to have that seeking. The seeking may not be from the inner core, from the outer core. That is why Bhagavan says, Chaturvita bhajante mam jana sukridino arjuna arto. Some pain is there that makes you to call Bhagavan. You want something, it makes you to call Bhagavan. So, arto jiknyasu. So, our practice, spiritual exercises, our devotion to God, our devotion to the spiritual practice, may be from the different atmas actually, from the different levels actually. That exactly is the problem. And it is not possible to make the call from in. The inner call, it is not in your hand, it has to come from there. So what happens? That is why the Shastra prescribes, the Gurudev says, that whatever you do at the physical level, it has got an impact on your mind. Whatever you do at the mind, it has got an impact on the mind. Whatever you do, all these are interconnected. This mind, body, intellect and Atma, this your real self. They are not separate entities. They are not separate entities. This physical body and your mental body. The mental body is bigger than the physical body. You and I are different. You are different and I am different. How we are different? We are different because we are space bound. You have got a body shape, maybe 50 kilos, 60 kilos, 70 kilos. And there is a mass. I have got a mass. So my body is confined as we have the cutout of Gurudev. We are all one cutouts. You cannot occupy all space. It occupies a certain space. We are space bound. You are space bound and I am space bound. That is why we are different. But your mind, that is also has a limitation. And my mind has also limitations. But there can be a common space for you and me. At the physical level, we are two different entities. You contemplate on this. Anybody have questions on this, they can talk to me later. You are a physical entity and you are space bound. I am also a physical entity, I am space bound. But your mind and my mind are not totally independent as your body and my body. Your mind and my mind have certain common areas. It is like a flat. You are staying in a apartment where your house is separate and his house is separate. But there is a common space which they call it as easement. That easement is common to both and they have got right over that. Likewise, there are certain areas which is common to you and me. And same thing with intellectual level, same thing with at the prana level. But at the level of Atma, your Atma and my Atma are not, there is no different Atma. So, whatever we do at the physical level has got an impact on the mind. And it has got an impact on the intellect. And it has got an impact on your real self also. It puts something on that. If you keep some aromatic substance there, some good smell comes or a bad smell comes, it will come here also. Hey, what is that sound? What is that smell, we will ask. So like that, whatever you do physically, it gives an impact on your Paramatma also. Any good karma you do has got an impact on you. Any bad karma you do. So that is one of the reason the Shastra prescribes, all the great masters prescribe integral yoga. This discussion whether jnana is correct or bhakti is correct or karma is correct, these are all not according to Shastra. Bhakti paresha anubhutir viraktir anyatra hyaisha trika ekakala. Bhagavad says, Bhagavad is a bhakti grantha, all these things, bhakti, virakti, jnana, all these things will simultaneously grow. So whatever you do, the upasana you do, it has got there is a little amount of jnana is there. There is a little amount of karma is there. No upasana can be done without karma. If you sit means, how to sit, first question. You sit in Padmasana, that is karma comes there. So the karma has got certain amount of upasana and upasana has got certain amount of karma. So at the physical level, we have this Hatha Yoga and all these things, these tantras and all these things, part of that only. When we do like that, we do puja like this. Pranaya Swaha, Vanaya Swaha, Vyanaya Swaha, all these mudras are there. These are all part of this upasana only, it's karma also. So at the physical level, at the body level, we have got the Hatha Yoga exercises. Even if you do Surya Namaskara, then you say Bhaskaraya Namaha, Adityaya Namaha, you do say. Why should you bring Namaha there? You can also say 1, 2, 3, you don't do that. So, at the physical level we have got this Hatha Yoga and other karma, the Gurudev Seva they say, serve. And at the mental level, we also do little amount of bhakti. And at the intellectual study of the scriptures, all these things we do, it creates an impact. It has got an impact on your Paramatma in the soul actually. So then it is in a Yoga Nidra actually. This Paramatma is sleeping, your Paramatma is sleeping, and you have to wake him up actually. Uttishta Govinda they say. So this Bhagavan has to get up actually. So then only Uddhared Atmanatman is possible only that way. So all these exercises are needed, and it depends upon to what extent they are capable of creating an impact on that. So if these exercises are not done sincerely, if there are any other interests are there to do that, it will not have much impact on your it will have some benefit, but it will not have the 100% benefit. The efficiency of those practices will be very less, because there are other interests also. So ananyas chintayanto mam they say, ananyas chintayanto mam, it is not possible. Anya chinta is also there. Anya chinta is also there. So if we can do one time you say, I surrender unto you. If it comes from the core of your being, then it is accepted. But somehow it doesn't come. It comes from our lips. It has got some effect. Don't think it has no effect. It has got some effect. All these reading, all these exercises. That's why I told the other person, you are not able to find God. God will find you. Stagnation will be there. So, all these, whatever sadhana we do, it has got certain impact. But because it is not 100%, it is not happening. So that is why the Shastra says that you do all this karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, all this integral yoga, all these things to be done simultaneously. It is meant for one person. It is not somebody, I am committed to karma yoga, I am committed to jnana yoga, I am committed to bhakti yoga, it won't work. All things have to be simultaneously practiced, little of. Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even little practices you do, it takes you also. So, I will conclude with 2 slokas from Bhagavat actually. One sloka says you are in all these sense organs, body, mind, all these things have to be given to God. Physically we do certain form of yoga exercises, some form of service, some form of puja, and then mind is prayers, and then intellectually studying scriptures. All these things have to go together. So there is a prayer like this: Vahani gunanukathane shravanau kathayam hastau jagarmasu manastava padayorna smrutyam shirastava nivasa jagat praname drishtis sadam darshanestu bhavattanunam. There's a prayer. What practice we should do? Vani guna anukathane. Mama vani anukathane, guna anukathane. O Lord, Bhagavan, let my speech be engaged in chanting your names. Vani guna anukathane. I think you will understand. Shravanau kathayam. My ear be engaged in hearing your stories. Hastau jagarmasu. Let my hands be engaged in your seva. Manastava padayorna. Let my mind settle at your lotus feet. Shirastava nivasa jagat praname. Let my head bow down before the world, before everyone. Drishti satam darshanestu bhavattanunam. Let me behold thee in all these names and forms. Gurudev says, Drishti satam darshanestu bhavattanunam. Sajjana darshan, everybody is sajjana only. So let me behold thee in all these names and forms. So here in this shloka, the karma yoga, the bhakti yoga, the jnana yoga, all put together. So all these exercises we do. Uddhared atmanatmanam. This body you have to submit yourself. Every day after puja and all these things we make a prayer. Kayena vacha manasendriyarva. That in the Bhagavad Ekadasha Skanda, what is the anushtana you have to do? He says only this. Samarpayet samarpayami, instead of that samarpayet tat, like that. That you offer it unto God. We don't offer it unto God, you offer it unto God. That is what the highest Upadesha is, you offer it unto God. So in another place, the very same idea is put in a little more simple way. It is from the stuti of Brahma. When Brahma had the vision of Lord Krishna, and then he makes a prayer, what exactly we should do. What exactly is the sadhana? You are stuck up somewhere, you feel you are stuck up somewhere here. Swamiji, what I have to do? What is the way out? Not progressing much. It is happening to all the devotees and our Swamijis and Brahmacharis also. Then I always tell this only. So what we have to do? You are stuck up somewhere. What is exactly the sadhana you have to do? Brahma says, from whose mouth all these Vedas came, he says, Tattenukampam susamikshamaanaha bhunjanayeva atmakritam vipagam hridvak vabubirvidadan namaste jevedayo muktipade sadaya bhag. Tatte anukampam susamikshamaanaha. Anticipating your grace, anticipating the grace of Bhagavan, anticipating the grace of your inner personality, anticipating your own grace. Te anukampam. That is Uddhared atmanatmanam. That Atma is there. Paramatma, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is very much here. So Antaryami. So te anukampam susamikshamaanaha. Tatte anukampam susamikshamaanaha. Bhunjanayeva atmakritam vipagam. Whatever, atmakritam means whatever you do, that only comes back to you. So undergoing, accepting whatever happens to us in the spiritual practice or in the other verse, whatever in this mundane life also, and even in the spiritual practice, whatever Bhagavan provides to me, whatever you provide me, it is, I accept it, O Lord. I accept it with joy. I don't have anything to say. Okay, fine. You should be able to say fine to him. Tattenugambam susamikshamaanaha bhunjanayeva atmakritam vipagam hridvak vabubir vidadan namaste. Hrit, vak, vabu. Mind, speech, there is sense organs and body. With surrender you to him, with body, mind, intellect, etc. Whosoever lives like that, sa muktipade sadhaya bhag. Muktipade means Bhagavan is Muktipadi, Moksha Data. He is your father. Daya means what we inherit from the father, that is called Daya. Dayati they call it as. Daya means when father, he passes on his property to the son. Likewise my father, his property is Muktipada. You automatically you inherit his property. That is how it is concluded. So we are all children of that divine. Ye children of divinity, Bhagavan. So you are children of divine. Whatever sadhana you do, it comes back to you. Don't feel that you are stagnant at somewhere. Whatever little you do, that causes an impact on your real personality. It makes him up. You call him. Get up, you call. Hari Om, 2 times. you call, it's an alarm call. It keep on calling actually. So that whatever sadhana you do, whatever you do, even you say one time Om Namo Narayanaya, it has got an impact. So it creates an impact on you and gives the wake-up call to your inner personality, so that Uddhared Atmanatmanam, that will lift you up. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sadguru Bhagwan ki Jai.